morning. I'm going to jump right into it. So the definition of a wide perspective is increase, add to, grow, even stretch. They're all things that we would want to happen in our own personal lives, right? A little adding to, a little increase. Well, that's in every area of our lives except for this area. I'm always screaming, decrease right here. Toastmasters, guests, and friends. Can I see the hands of anybody that can relate to being compared to a family member? Wow, all of us, right? I don't know the people you were compared to. But in my life, my family, on my mother's side, I was compared to my aunt. And on my father's side, I was compared to my father. Now, being compared to my aunt and my father wasn't such a bad thing. Me and my aunt had so many similarities. There's an ongoing joke in our family that says, my aunt gave birth to me, and she handed me to her sister to raise. Well, we know that's not true, because of the next story that says, they were in the park one day, and my mother's water broke, and she turned to my aunt, and she said, Justine, my water broke. And she said, what you telling me for? Get away from me. She took off running. She panicked. She didn't know what to do. These two actually had all the skills I needed to make it through the streets of Philadelphia. They both had swagger. They were cool, well respected, even feared. The problem was, I had such a narrow perspective that when I looked at my aunt, all I could see was a woman that was addicted to crack cocaine. And when I looked at my dad with the same narrow perspective, all I could see was a man that was serving a double life sentence in prison for a murder he didn't commit, but he was involved in. Now me, by the time I turned 14 years old, I was a basketball star in my own right. 8th grade, I was already receiving college letters. 9th grade, I made the varsity basketball team. I made All-City. 10th grade, I was on the McDonald's All-American list. It was predicted that I could go off to be a professional basketball player overseas. The WNBA wasn't around at that time, and I know I just told my age. So the problem was that with this wide perspective, had I just widened my perspective, with my narrow perspective, had I just widened my perspective a little bit and looked at my aunt for everything that she was in her fullness, I would have saw that she was way more than just a woman that was addicted to drugs. My aunt was actually one of the strongest women in our family. She was very protective. She was a great provider, and she was super strong and very determined and a hard worker. If I would have widened my perspective and looked at my father, I would have saw that he was way more than a man just in prison. He was actually president of the Lifers Group while he was in prison. He got his bachelor's degree from Villanova. He even built relationships while he was in prison with politicians and put him in position to hold seminars with teenagers that was on the wrong path. These two actually made me. And had I looked into those attributes that they had, I would have believed that I too could have took that dream of being a professional basketball player. But instead, my basketball coach, he thought he was doing me a favor. He actually made an arrangement with my teachers that I would get passing grades whether I came to class or not. I took advantage of it. I hooky school every day. So much free time I ended up out on them corners, chasing my destiny to be like my aunt and my father. Because there was no way I was going to play basketball overseas. No one else in my family did it. No one was going to college. No one was even playing basketball, so I didn't believe I could do it. So I got on the streets, started selling drugs, started using drugs, ended up addicted to drugs, just like my aunt, ended up in prison, just like my father, and walked in their shoes fully. Wasn't much to be proud of at that time. But I don't want you guys to feel sorry for me, my aunt, or my father. Because as all three of us stand here before you today, I'm here to tell you that my aunt now has 30 years clean from drugs and alcohol. She has a great profession and career. She's taking care of her family very well right now in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. My father wasn't supposed to get out of prison. I don't know if you know what a double life sentence means. I guess if you die and come back, you gotta go back to jail. But he fought his way out of there. He went to school and he learned everything he needed to learn. And he got out. It took him 37 years. When he came home, he looked like a Billy D. Williams. Looked like he was about 40. He was in his late 50s. He was driving a Chrysler 300, wearing three-piece suits and trench coats. I was super proud of him. And he came home and continued his re-entry strategy work for convicted felons. Me, I'm actually 1 year away from my bachelor's degree now. I actually help people maximize their finances. And I'm a quality assurance technician at Pepsi Cola. That's just the cake. The icing is that I'm also a member of Toastmasters International, where I have an opportunity now to build upon my leadership skills and also reach for my dream of being a motivational speaker where I could change lives, one conversation at a time. Now, I don't know the people that you was compared to. I don't know if they was anything like my aunt and my daddy, but what I can say is that I hope they were somebody that you could be proud of. And if not, I urge you to widen your perspective and look down inside of them and find those nuggets that you can attach yourself to so that you too can walk in your greatness. Thank you.